Hello, welcome back. Time now for Media Watch, and for that I'm joined on set by James Creedon. Hello, James.
Good evening.
Right, we start with some of the obscure states who voted against the Palestinian bid for observer status. Tell me about them.
Right, well, a lot of people were commenting on that. You had 9 states that voted against this bid, and amongst them, some rather obscure little nations such as Nauru, Palau, Micronesia, and Marshall Islands. Now, they don't get a lot of media coverage very often. They're not big players on the world scene. They're not, permanent members of the UN Security Council or anything like that. Let's take a look at a couple of tweets on these states. 4 countries that voted against Palestine's bid face annihilation due to climate change. Now, I actually checked that, and it looks like they are threatened. A lot of them are little islands that could indeed have trouble with rising sea levels. So I suppose some who don't agree with the way they voted on this issue are kind of thinking, well, next time round, that mightn't be an issue. There might not be any more Palau, right? So that's what some people have been saying, maybe a little bit cynically and a little bit unfairly. But of course, the whole thing is that they're very tied to US foreign policy, have been or still are dependencies on the US. Now, what did occur to me is Palau and various other countries like that. We did hear of them before in recent history, or somewhat recent history. Let's take a look at an extract of the 2004 film Fahrenheit 9/11, The Coalition of the Willing. Now, this was all about the war in Iraq. And those, there you go, Palau coming back again.
Wow.
Now, there were others. The Coalition of the Willing was much broader in terms of its numbers, but even that was laughed at was seen as being a little bit, what would you say, not entirely authentic in terms of each country's individual take on it, but people rowing in behind the US position. That was Douglas Herbert who brought my attention to that one.
Very good. Can I say your film voiceover is magnificent as well?
Maybe we could dub it over.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Coalition of the Willing.
No, Barack Obama and Mitt Romney had lunch, and internet users have been poking fun at that, I believe.
That's right. Now, this was yesterday at the White House. We can see that it's already become quite the meme online. Let's take a look at this photo. You see Romney and Obama shaking hands in front of the desk at the Oval Office. Now, some people have been pointing out that it almost looks like Romney is receiving Obama because he's standing in front of the desk, he's facing the camera. Obama almost looks like he's the visitor in the scene. But some people have been pointing out that there was a mystery person in the background. Now, check out this particular photo here, which I think does a good job of zooming in and saying soon, kind of rather mysteriously. Could Mr. Obama be, I don't know, be stalked, or what does that even mean? Big Bird, of course, had to make an appearance, didn't he?
Fabulous.
That was, for people who don't know, Big Bird became a big meme, basically. Big Bird became a big meme during the election when Romney threatened to cut funding for PBS public television, which would have affected Big Bird, and he became the symbol of this movement against cuts and putting poor old Big Bird out of a job. And then you have this, which is basically every single detail of the election packed into one photo around the 2 main characters, including, of course, Clint and his famous speech. That's right. So there you go. That was a feature online today.
Absolutely fabulous. I love it. You'd pay anything to be a fly on the wall to that lunch, wouldn't you?
I'm sure it was a little bit strained, to say the least.
Brilliant. Now to Nicolas Sarkozy and his failed attempts to resolve the UMP leadership.
Right. Well, he was. A lot of people were turning to him this week because of these 2 guys. Let me try to quickly find a photo. Here you are, François Fillon and Jean-François Copé. They're both vying for the leadership of the UMP party. Officially, Copé is the leader, but it's a disaster. And everybody's been looking to. It's been going on for about 11 or 12 days now to Nicolas Sarkozy. Now, this is the front page of Le Figaro magazine this weekend. It's a weekend edition that comes with the Friday edition of the paper. An angry man, an homme en colère, because he tried to resolve the issue and it didn't work. But get this, Louise, because they went to print with that. Now, that's what was appearing in newsstands this afternoon. Le patron, c'est lui. He's the boss. Why? Because Le Figaro magazine had falsely concluded that Nicolas Sarkozy was going to be successful today in resolving this dispute between the 2 contenders, but they got it wrong, and so they had to change their front page very quickly to un homme en colère, as opposed to, he's the boss, he the boss. So there you go. It shows just how confusing this issue is. And indeed, even today we saw this piece of information on the Figaro website. Sarkozy asks Fillon to agree with Copé as quickly as possible. So he's still trying to pull those strings behind the scenes.
Oh, it's a real saga, isn't it? Now, on to another French politician, or at least a former French politician at DSK, Dominic Strauss-Kahn.
Yes.
Rumours he may have expensively settled the civil lawsuit that the maid Nafissatou Diallo brought against him.
That's right. There he is, Dominic Strauss-Kahn. It was big news in France today. $6 million was the figure being bandied around. $3 million borrowed from the bank, $3 million borrowed from his estranged wife, Anne Sinclair. So I'm sure, she probably feels like she's already paid a lot, but there you go. Now, our own website points out, as do others, that Strauss-Kahn's lawyers deny that, but it still didn't stop DSK being one of the top trending topics on French social media today. Here are some of the comments. DSK about to conclude a financial arrangement with Nafissatou. Could he be back for the local elections in 2017? Some people saying it could perhaps clear the slate for a return to politics. And others saying here, well, is this an indication that he was in fact guilty, because you don't pay that much money for nothing? Now, that's of course all speculative, and indeed his lawyers are denying that that sum has been agreed on.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, James.
Thanks,
James Creedon there with our Media Watch. Time to take a look now at this week's Buzz on the Internet. That's now in Web News.